Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the April edition of Community Call from ToolJet. And this is the place for us to actually, a two-way channel for us to communicate in terms of product releases and also some sort of updates and some use cases on how you could use ToolJet moving forward with some new releases and also some specific features. And as you know, today's topic is mostly about covering the latest features that are available, which is certainly about the global data sources and explaining the OpenAI plugin and also looking at how you can use and utilize the table auto column generation feature specifically for the table component, right? So we'll be looking into specific aspects of this release. There are a couple of other updates as well. There are a lot more updates than these. But for now, for the time being, we'll be doing these community calls shorter from right now. From this community call, we are going to reduce the amount of time that it takes for community calls to communicate about these things. And also, we would like to increase a bit more time to learn from you so that, we would like to hear from you about your thoughts and your comments or your feedback or your questions or anything related to the product or your development process with ToolJet, right? So we'll leave it for now. And then we'll look forward for more other people or users to join us to the community call. So we'll be jumping straight into the agenda first. So let me quickly pull up my slides. There you go. Okay. Global data source, OpenAI plugin, auto column generation for table component. Just to mention, earlier we used to do the community calls specifically about a kind of a key session, mainly about building something. But this time we tried to make a change in the style that we produce the community calls. So earlier it was more over application driven, like we make a use case, like building a CMS app or building a CRM directly from ToolJet and other data sources. But for now, just wanted to try how it goes and see the responses on getting into specific aspects of the releases with product updates and giving a demo of it and see how you can use it as well. Right. So moving on, first thing we'll be jumping into a few specific updates. And then we'll be looking into the global data sources, just giving a exploratory into how you can start using the global data sources and how it is different from the local data sources that are priorly before the update, and learning to use the OpenAI plugin, how you could start using it, and then a demo of a ToolJet auto column generation. So specifically, as you know, we'll be jumping into these three aspects, and then we'll jump into the Q&A. I hope this would not take much amount of time. So quickly going through these things, and I would leave some good amount of space for us to communicate as we jump on one after the other. So version 2.5.0 or 0 is here. So with this, you have a very crisp UI and then access to the plugin marketplace in Community Edition. What I mean by that, now that you have a bunch of all the data sources or plugins that are currently available from ToolJet data source thing, where you should be able to scroll through a different 40 plus amount of data sources that are currently available, in which they are APIs or databases connections, and the other could be the storage services that you can connect to and make operations on top of them, right? So, but for now, what we are also trying to bring is a plugin marketplace where these are moreover kind of, they are existing or pre-built plugins or kind of integrations that you can call. These are currently which will be available in the marketplace, which is accessed right from the application itself. And you can install the selected things as per your needs, right? So for now, what you see in the data source is more over a group of items that you might not use or might not be useful for you. Where with the help of the marketplace, specifically the plugin marketplace, where you have a list of all the different plugins that you can choose, select, and install and start using them. And if you don't need it, you can uninstall and put it back up there, right? So that's the kind of a thing that we wanted to give as a part of the plugin marketplace, which was priorly released for the enterprise editions. It is now in community edition from the 2.5.0, and in which the first kind of a plugin that we're also looking is about the OpenAI plugin from the marketplace itself. So where we'll be jumping into exploring the marketplace, and from there we pick the OpenAI plugin and start installing it, setting up the credentials to perform operations with the OpenAI plugin. So that is the third thing as a new update. And then the fourth part is about working with gRPC from the data sources. So this is not a plugin again. This comes into the data source section, which is not a part, it's apart from the marketplace. So where you have this thing available in the set of data sources that are currently available from the data source section itself. Right. So far, using ToolJet, you should be able to perform operations with REST APIs and GraphQL. But now with this update, you can perform RPC calls to the servers and all of that, and connecting with that and making working with the data. So working with the gRPC is something possible, right? And another big feature is about ability to add rows from the table components itself. So this will allow you to have the table component have a multiple rows in it. On top of that, we with this update, you have an option to add a new row right from the table. And following up, it has an event handler, which can trigger a specific query to perform the operation as to add the specific new row to the table component, right? So these are a few major releases, or you can call it as updates of this release 2.5.0. But there are a lot of bug fixes, UI enhancements, and more coming up. So a good place for us to look about them is also getting into GitHub page of ToolJet, and then you can get into the release section of that part. Once you get up here into ToolJet page, and then you see releases, and you see that 2.5.0 is already here, which was published, released yesterday. So these are the major features that you have seen on the screen. But if you see the bugs and fixes, there are a lot more, and then coming on, there will be more and more. So these are the major various features, the releases with specific descriptions that are added up here. So just sharing for you to also look forward what is also coming prior to the community calls as well. Okay, so pretty much about the updates part, but then let's jump on to the next part, which is about exploring the global data source part of it. All right, okay. I'm so sorry about this. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm switching into different screens, but I hope this is good. Okay, what I was saying ahead is 2.5.0, and there are a couple of changes. You can easily upgrade to 2.5.0. And let's jump on to specific aspects of the global data source section. So in the 2.5.0, the release which we had on yesterday, which has this, the marketplace as a new thing, we'll be jumping into the marketplace as time comes. But now let's get on to the global data source part. You should be able to access from the left sidebar here. What actually we mean by the global data source. Earlier in the previous versions, the data sources that you add are very specific and scoped to the application level, right? So where now with the help of the data sources, this is where you add a data source, which now can be accessed and perform operations from different applications that you create. Right. So if you had to have a data source created for PostgreSDB, earlier you would need to create it for each and every single application that you create. But for with the global data source, that you just need to create the data source at one time, and then it will be saved and accessible across different ToolJet apps. The moment you create a new application, and then you should be able to use it right from there. Right. So let's do it. Let's create a new data source by clicking on the add new data source. And then you see this, the regular, I think you would be already familiar with the screen on having listing all the different data sources right here. And then once you have it here, let's go ahead, create a new data source. You can create any of this, but then following up to the next part of this, to this section, we are going to talk about the OpenAI thing, right? So let's go ahead and actually add the OpenAI data source. So you can go to plugins for that. You need to go to plugins. And why do you need to do that? Is actually you would need to get onto the marketplace for it. So because if you see all these data sources, these are specific to this app. I mean, to this specific version. And then once you have, that's where you have this marketplace comes in handy. So where you get onto the marketplace and then you pull up the specific integrations, or we are calling these are plugins here. If you see that these are integrations or plugins at the moment, we'll be sticking it to one. But then these are some of these plugins that can be installed and can be used right from here. So if you don't need, you don't need to touch them. So that's where the marketplace part comes in. So I thought to talk about this moving on, but then as we brought into the OpenAI thing, we can actually talk about this right away here. So where you can access, this is currently in the beta phase. So you can, bring these plugins to your data sources part and make it a global data source from the plugins part of it. So because these are more over plugins things. So yeah, looks like the OpenAI thing is already installed. The way how you install another thing is just by clicking on this button, and the moment you click on install, it just looks like there is some issue with the credentials or something with the setup itself, because this is not host in the live. So it's a specific instance that I pulled up for presenting in the community call. All right. So this is how you bring onto the marketplace and actually install specific plugins. And then once you install from here, you should be able to access them inside the plugins part. Let me close this. Yeah. So you click on the add new data source. And once the moment you click on the plugins here, you should be able to see the OpenAI here. So this plugin section will show all the items that are brought from the marketplace. And the rest of all, these are all default, which are available as data sources. The one which you have seen, the new one, which was added as gRPC, this is not a plugin. This is a data source that is added, which is not needed to be installed from a marketplace. Instead, you can actually bring it on and start using from the data source itself, right? But in case of plugins, sources like OpenAI or AWS things, a couple of things that you have seen in the previous screen, like Pilvo, where you have to install them as per your needs. And then once you have installed it, you can go to the plugins part and click on it. And then it needs a couple of credentials for it. Let me bring them. You can access to the, you can get into your OpenAI page and then actually access, bring them and start using them up here. Okay. So I'm just setting up my credentials here. So once you have that, you can click on test connection. So it says the status of the connection that you had, and then you can click on save. Okay. So you see that the OpenAI data source is now added. And the benefit of having it as a global data source is where now you can actually access that data source across all these different applications, right? Let's go ahead, create a new app, and we are going to test the OpenAI plugin. Okay, I'm just going to say. Okay, there you go. So now, if you could able to notice, previously in the previous versions, there used to be a data source thing here, and then I have other things here, but we minimized it to only two now. One is pages, another is the inspector here, so making it more minimal. And then you see the debugger in the bottom, and you have a dark mode thing here. So the data source thing has been moved to the global thing, and now to actually start using it, you need to pull up the query panel. So now you see that you can have a selected data source, and then you have the global data sources here. Okay. So the one which we added here is the OpenAI one. As you click it on, you should be able to see the specific options related to this OpenAI plugin. Right. So let's go ahead, quickly test this integration. So go ahead to the operation and this, try it out, making a completion maybe. And then you have these things here as a prompt, max tokens, and all of that. So how do you learn about all of this? You can go to docs.tooljet.com and Command K or Control K or anything, and you can search for OpenAI. And you see that the marketplace docs here. So you can see how you can start using it and also learn about what are all the supported queries. For now, it is completions and chat at this moment. And you see that there are a couple of required parameters. Can you quickly confirm, as I need to be more conscious this time, were you able to see the documentation screen? We are on docs.tooljet.com. If yes, can you drop yes in the chat? Awesome. Thank you. There you go. So you can actually use this marketplace plugin, the marketplace OpenAI plugin documentations to follow it up. And then once you have it up here, you can get back to the application here. And then you have this OpenAI plugin install and then start using it. You need to set the credentials. And once you are here, let's quickly check this by just saying a completion. What is you can just try saying like ToolJet is a, and then try previewing it. Okay, so it has a few sets of hallucinations. You have got the response well. So don't worry about the response because it's from the AI. I'm not sure how correct it is because these are the AI models is more hallucinatory and it might get into any different aspects. So these are the tokens that you have, max tokens, temperature, and all of this. You can learn more about this in the OpenAI documentation, and then you can start using it accordingly. Right. So for one of the other aspects that you can also look into is also chat. And you can see that draft an email or other piece of writing where you can start using it, right? Write an email for my customer to follow up on a pending payment, right? So maybe you can quickly preview this and see how it works. Yeah. So this is actually presenting some of the pending data. Dear customer, I hope this email finds you well. I'm writing to follow up the pending payment. And you have these placeholders to set up specific details. So the data what you have seen is very limited here. It comes to the point of max tokens. You have to increase the max tokens to see the fullest of this information that is coming from the OpenAI API, and then start using it inside the applications. So the intention here is just to quickly give you a glimpse of how you can start using this OpenAI plugin, which you can install from the marketplace. And once you set the credentials, you can start using the two operations that you can use is the completion and chat. So I'm more excited now to show you a fully working application that we actually built for a use case, similar to how we use it for an email purpose for sending a payment reminder on following up. So let's get on to that application to show you how useful it can be. So if you get on to home screen, it is actually built ready to show you. I'm not going to go build it from the scratch, but presenting it to you to give you a glimpses of how it can be helpful with ToolJet. So we had built a CRM application, not a fully CRM, but which could be potentially helpful for you to give a glimpse about what it can be. Right. So this is a kind of a simple application that we wanted to show all the customers' data that from your database. It can be from Postgres or anything. So this data is actually coming from the Postgres here. Okay. So all of this, the post new lead and get customer count and all of that data is coming from the Postgres DB. So we have all of this information list in the table component, and then you have some boards to give you an overview of the number of customers, and then you see this prospects, and then you have leads, customer, and prospects in a row. So showing up the glimpses, you can even make it more beautify. You can beautify it by just spending some amount of time. So clicking on add new gives you a few fields to set up, and it makes the add new will add this new record to the database. Okay, but where does the actual help of the OpenAI API helps us with the CRM thing? So that's where we'll be getting on to the actions part of it. So for this specific customer, you might be having some sort of a status that is a prospect or a lead or a customer, and you wanted to make an email to a set of group. For now, I'm showing a specific person, but you can make it as a group and make it more wide enough as according to your use case. But how you can make use of these APIs is by, you can click on send email, and then you have to and subject, and then you have get help from ChatGPT here. So the moment you toggle it on, you can see you should be able to see the screen that can, you can ask ChatGPT to ask about the same thing. He's a lead, right? So you can ask ChatGPT to write an email asking for feedback about the product. And the moment you click on ask, okay, looks like there. Let me quickly check, run query. Okay. So previously, if you remember, I actually removed the OpenAI data source. So that would be the reason that it got disconnected. So you can actually connect it right from here. And then you have this model which comes up on clicking on this. So this is where you can take the text from. So that is ChatGPT prompt. And you can have the message from here, components dot ChatGPT prompt dot value. Okay, so as you type on saying write an email asking for feedback. Okay, so you should be able to see that here. Write an email asking for product feedback, right? So this is now we should be able to, let me create that. Trigger OpenAI. I'm creating the query now. And now my next thing is to actually, attach or set this button to trigger this query on clicking on top of it. So click on that, run query, and then which is trigger OpenAI. And now it is there. And now I also need to present the data, which is up here. So get on to the content thing. And this is going to be OpenAI. There you go. Okay, so this is how it should be helpful for you. So the moment you click on ask, so what is happening here is actually, you see that, right? So look at how helpful it can turn to. So you see that request for feedback. We hope this email finds you well. We appreciate. So you have all the content ready up here, and the moment you click on send here, you have to set the subject, of course, and the to, and then you can actually connect to the SMTP service. So we have this send email SMTP connected to our email services, and now you get this email prompt from the OpenAI, and then you make the changes that is needed, and then you can click on send email. That goes up, fires up to the email specifically. So this can be scaled up into different levels, but to just give you a glimpses about how you can start using the OpenAI plugin, this is how we thought it could be helpful for you. This is one of the use cases, but it can be anything. It can even help you to write code. You should be also waiting for us to look, a major feature that is coming along. Could be exciting. So here we have a specific use case about how you can use the OpenAI. So you can think about many other things. For suppose if you are using any of the SQL generators app, we also have this dev.to post on ToolJet, where you should be able to see one creating a SQL generator app with OpenAI and ToolJet. Earlier, we did not have this plugin, but for now, you have this plugin that you can start using it. So this is an application that actually lets you have a complete, a table and a field to asking for you to enter the text. For suppose, bring all the customers from the region and with the age below, and then with who are male, and you just write it in a normal text. And the moment you click on execute, that triggers the OpenAI API and then brings the SQL query. And then the moment you click on execute, the ToolJet data sources that are connected to the Postgres performs the execution and brings the data back to you presentation, right? So this is one of the really interesting use cases for us, also looking on how you can use different connections from ToolJet. For this instance, it's about Postgres and OpenAI. There you go. So this is all about how you can utilize the OpenAI thing. And then let's get on to the next part, which we were talking about, the demo of the table auto column generation. So this is going to be much more interesting. So all right. So this is going to be something like, for now, if you have a table component up here, and then you see that earlier it used to be like, we need to set these columns, and also which got up to more like auto column generation. But now what you could do with this feature, which is currently live, is more or like the data that you set up here, and based on the table data, the columns of this component are automatically generated, right? So for that, if I have to give you a quick example, let me go back and show you the application that was built for this purpose. So there is an app which actually gives you a dashboard view of the entire application. So if you see this, okay. So what is happening here? So I want to give you a context of what this application here you see on the screen. This is moreover about a database dashboard, where it's moreover like a client that you connect to the that connect to your databases. So the moment you connect your database to this application, you should be able to see the whole list of all the tables in that database. For now, the database that I connected to is a PostgreSDB, which has all these tables. This is a dummy database, so it has users, plans, and subscriptions. So this will automatically list all the table names. And the moment you click on a specific table name, this will pull up the information from the database right from the data sources that is connected to. All right. So now you see that this is actually a table component. This is the table component. I'm not sure what the ID it is. So it is the table to the ID it is. So you see that these columns are plan ID, subscription status, end date, start date, subscription ID, and the user ID, which is currently up here. All right. So now you keep an eye on the table ID, which is table 2. And the moment I click on another table name, which is plans for B. So the as you click on plans here, you see that the columns has changed, right? The columns has been automatically generated. Okay. So now you see that the columns has been automatically generated in the same table that you have up here. So yeah, this is the same table, the table 2, and you have these columns changed to name, description, price, interval, and created at. Even the number of columns can be changed. So that's what the new feature about the table auto column generation. So you can also look into the users part, and you see that the same table, which is actually presenting data from different kinds of data into different columns, which are automatically generated. So for the just for the part of the use case, you see that the specific user has this data in it, and then the structure of the data where you can get it, which are the created at thing, and the data type of the columns, and then what about is nullable, and the column default values can also be brought. You can also run a query right from here. So this can be performed by using the same data source. We only use the Postgres data source here and some connections to the UI and to the queries, and then it presents just like that. So yeah, you see that this is the database name, and this is the name of the database, the user, and then pretty straightforward, right? So this can be pretty helpful when you wanted to have a regular checks to your databases as you connect to it. But this application is moreover like a use case to present how you can utilize the table auto column generation thing. Pretty much about that. All right. So I hope you like this, and also let me know if you would need to learn about how you can build this. We can also talk more about that in coming up things. So you can mention that in the Slack. Okay. So let me hold and see if we have any questions specific to any of this. All right. So we were talking about, just to give a recap, we were starting off with the global data source part, and then we jumped on to the marketplace segment of it, and how you can actually use marketplace plugins to install them and start using them right inside your application as a global data source. So these are all pretty much interconnected. And then we would be also looking more into discussing furthermore about these coming up features. But for now, let us know if you have any questions or you want to talk about that. So this is the last segment of the community call about just being open mic. Wanted to hear from you, or you wanted to share with us or anything. We are completely open for it. Awesome. Looks like there are not many questions. So possibly I can leave you up to tooljet.com/Slack, where you can join us into our Slack workspace. And if you have any questions, you can actually post them into the general channel. And we'll be always there to address and help you anywhere that you got stuck to building applications or address any of your queries at any point. All right. So concluding the session. So thank you so much for joining. This is something we tried out with exclusively jumping onto specific aspects of the releases or the products and demoing the specific sections and how you can actually build applications with that. I hope that this could be helpful for you or learning with ToolJet and also building apps with it. So curious to know your thoughts. Let us know in the Slack, and also we are always open to hear from you from our emails as well, and also from our Twitter, anywhere up to you. So thank you so much, and thank you, Liran, for the comment. Looking forward for furthermore community calls, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.